Now let's go to our commodities segment. Now, in the midst of the Ukraine war, one of the most affected commodities has been wheat, going by the fact that both Ukraine and Russia are major exporters of wheat to the world, and this has highly affected prices. Well, we have analyst Lawrence Mercer now joining us from Victoria Island. He's an analyst with Financial Derivatives Company to tell us what Nigerians are saying and what are some of the alternatives that people are looking for to wheat. Hello, Lawrence. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you, Lawrence. So the price of wheat at the Chicago Board of Trade has increased by 12.6% to about $419 for a ton. This price represents about 60% increase this year, and this is just this year. Can we attribute all of this to the war, or are there other factors that are driving this price acceleration of wheat?
That's a very insightful question. If we actually investigate dating back to last year, the price of wheat was actually steadily increasing, and this was as a result to post-lockdown effects where demand was excessively higher than supply. And as well as supply issues and logistics constraints, increasing freight costs, all of these were contributing to the increasing price of wheat. And then if you fast forward to the Ukraine-Russian war, which has seen 30% or so of the world's wheat exports basically slashed from circulation. But however, this isn't actually the only attributing factor for the current increase in the price of wheat. Recently, over the weekend, the Indian government has actually suspended the exports of wheat temporarily. This is as a measure to protect domestic access to wheat and also protect food sustainability in the country. India is actually the second largest producer of wheat, though not a large player in the export market. They were actually expected to fill the gap that was created during the Russia-Ukraine war. So all of these factors have come together to actually cause the stratospheric increase in the price of wheat over the past year.
Yeah, so Lawrence, wheat is used in making so many staple foods: spaghetti, bread, cakes. Some people use it as swallow here in Nigeria. Now, given this pass-through effect on prices that has brought about the shortage, I know we've been talking a lot back here in Nigeria about getting substitute for wheat. Have we discovered, good enough for effective substitute to wheat, or at least, to make some of these products that they're used for?
Well, yes, there are substitutes for wheat, especially in flour making. Some of these substitutes are rye, white rice or brown rice, even sometimes potatoes and coconuts. Many a times, these substitutes are actually just as quality as wheat and are even healthier in terms of consumption. However, the main issue is the technology, the available technology that will be utilized in converting some of these substitute grains into flour. It wouldn't be safe to assume that the production techniques for these other substitutes or these other grain types would be exactly the same as the process used in making wheat flour. And as well, there would need to be adaptations when converting some of these substitute grains into the production of things like pasta and noodles, as you've rightly said. But to answer your question more directly, yes, there are substitutes. However, we're not sure to what extent these substitutes are being adopted into the mass production of flour and other consumable goods.
All right, Lawrence, but what are we talking about local production? What are people saying? What's the conversation around that?
Local production, to be honest, is not really good news on that end. Nigerian demand for wheat is actually somewhere about 5 million metric tons a year. However, reports on news outlets are actually saying that Nigerian production is just about 60,000 metric tons a year. So to put that into more context, it's largely about only 2 to 5% of our wheat demand that's actually produced in-house. The other 95 to 97% is largely imported, despite increasing funding campaigns and demand. Looking at what Nigerians are saying on the grassroots level, it's largely attributable to farming practices along the entire agricultural value chain, starting from research to planting to harvesting and to production. There needs to be a complete overhaul. So first, there needs to be adequate research into high-yielding wheat seeds that will also be resistant to climate change and pests. Then in terms of planting, there needs to be adequate irrigation facilities because wheat is planted during the dry season or harmattan. There needs to be insecticides and pesticides as well, and adequate infrastructure. And then in terms of production and processing, we need transport and storage. So it's not looking good.
Yeah, a whole lot. Yeah, a whole lot of investments obviously is needed in that value chain, you know, if we want to overcome this. And unfortunately, it's not something you do immediately and get the results. You do it and then you wait for a couple of months or years before you say. Thank you so much, Lawrence Mercy, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company, for your thoughts this afternoon.